Now, how was it working with them two absolute madmen?
Well, as I say, I got to know Vic stroke Jim through a friend at university called Alan Davidson, who was up from that part of the country and who gave his name to the Filthy Fox. And he was a great friend of Jim, and I got to know him, and he was doing all sorts of arty things around London. And then he started doing Vic Reeves' Big Night Out in a pub in Goldsmiths Tavern in southeast London. And Alan kept saying, "Oh, you've got to go and see Jim's show. It's amazing. It's amazing." And eventually I thought, well, I better go and see it, see what he's doing. And I went, and it was the funniest thing I had ever seen. It was him and his oddball, mostly friends, mostly from the northeast, a couple of guys from London. Um, and Bob had joined him by this stage, and Bob had gone along as a fan and just thought this is great, and had asked Jim could he do something, and I went along as a fan, and I thought this was the funniest. There was no one else doing anything like it. It was the show that would eventually mutate into the Big Night Out on TV, where he was doing a different show every week with these regular characters and guests and games he'd play and daft routines and things he'd work out with Bob. And as I say, there was no one coming close to what he was doing. But he was completely ignored by the sort of mainstream comedy critics who were quite sort of North London based. So he was allowed to build up this big following in South London. And I said to him, my God, I'd love to do something with you. And I dragged Paul down and said, you've got to see this. And he loved it as well. And we started, they moved to a bigger venue, the Albany Empire. And we started, they'd do little runs of a few shows on a Sunday night. It'd be like a 3-hour show, completely new show every week. And Paul and I would turn up and say, what do you want us to do this week? And they would tell us. We mostly did things to sort of fill in while they were changing, or Novelty Island acts, anything really. And it was huge fun. And obviously there was something special, and TV people started coming down. Jonathan Ross started coming down, and there was a sort of a bidding war really for who might take them on. Agents were coming down. And yeah, so that took off amazingly, and Jonathan Ross managed to get them and make Big Night Out through his production company. And again, Paul and I were doing bits and pieces live on that, and it was just huge fun to be doing something for somebody two people who you thought were really comedy geniuses.
Oh, completely.